Welcome to this week's edition of World of Business, your weekly guide to trending business news and latest development on the stock markets. Now, we also herald unsung but thriving business entrepreneurs on this show. My name is Admire Mungu. Now, the government has reiterated its commitment to sustained efforts aimed at reducing imports and boosting domestic industrial production to grow the economy. Zimbabwe is pursuing import substitution to address its balance of payments and especially the balance of payments deficits, reducing reliance on foreign currency and stimulating domestic industries. We will discuss this and more in the second segment where we will be joined by Mr. Munyaradzi Hwengwere, who is the Buy Zimbabwe Chairperson and CEO. But first, let's take a look at the exchange rates as of today.
The Zimbabwe gold to the USD interbank rate was at 26.77 ZiG. The Zimbabwe gold to the Great Britain pound interbank rate was at 35.63 ZiG. The Zimbabwe gold to the euro interbank rate was at 31 ZiG. The Zimbabwe gold to the South African rand interbank rate was at 0.66 ZiG. The Zimbabwe gold to the Botswana pula interbank rate was at 1.89 ZiG.
Now that's it for the first segment. Stay tuned for more the in-depth discussions as we continue. Welcome back to World of Business, the second segment where we are looking at the government's commitment to sustained efforts aimed at reducing imports, boosting industrial production to grow the economy. As I told you in the first segment, we are now joined by Mr. Munyaradzi Hwengwere, Buy Zimbabwe Chairperson and Chief Executive Officer, and he's here to talk about the move and how this will impact the economy. Mr. Hwengwere, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much, Admire.
Let's go straight into it. Import substitution, reducing the import bill. How important is that?
I think it's important because when you're talking about imports, exports, you're talking about money. So you're basically talking about money that goes out of the country and money that comes into the country. Money that comes into the country generally from a trade point of view. So exports, you have your goods that you take out of the country and you get money. Imports, you buy and you lose the money. And so if you look at Zimbabwe in terms of from a trade balance point of view, over the last 20 years, 20 years, yes, we're becoming better, but on an annual basis, we have between 2, sometimes 3 billion in negative from a trade balance point of view. So which means we take out more money from our coffers, from our own money, than we get into the country. So we always have a gap.
What is always because of some sort of, why would that be? Why would we want to spend more money? Isn't that because there's a lack in terms of production or a lack in terms of goods and services?
No, primarily it's because we're still primary producer. So Zimbabwe, I think 80% of what we export are minerals, tobacco, and we take it in raw forms. Basically, maybe wash out maybe a few things, your gold and you take it out, your platinum, you take it out, everything. And then you get it as a car now. So the difference between what you export is that you export low value product and you import high value product. And so there's that gap because we don't then create the high value products locally here.
Of course, the government is coming with NDS1, critically addressing issues of industrialization, like you're talking about, in the value addition. Talk us more in terms of what that stance, which the NDS1 focuses on, helps in ensuring that we reduce import bills.
I think that's the point, really. Look at the mining sector, for instance. The mining order bill, if you're looking at the large mining sector, mining order bill in Zimbabwe is in the range of $2 billion. And an annual basis, mining order bill. Of that, what is resident for the local production is 12%, which is less than 300 million, which means 1.7 billion of that order bill goes out. The reason is because chemicals we get out, we get from machinery, we get into. So the whole idea is, are there chemicals that we should produce here? What machinery can we produce here? What is it that we need to do to make sure that our mining sector, in terms of the products that they want and even the services that they want, they can get them in Zimbabwe, so that instead of going to South Africa in the main or China, then we are bringing that money within our local manufacturers here, and then we then reduce that trade gap.
But it's not the first time that we've heard about this value addition. What stops value addition to be implemented as of today, Zanas?
I think it's a few factors. Number one, it's that it's the will. We need to have one mind together to say these are the targets that we have. And the mining sector at some point was below 50%. So we actually went in the opposite direction of over the years. The other side is the US dollar. We love it, but guess what it does? It increases your cost, but also increases your appetite because for things external. Yeah. Because it means with the US dollar, you don't have to worry about saying, do I go to the bank to get that? It means you can buy anyway. So the US dollar has made Zimbabwe, in large measure, a very expensive country. And because it is an expensive country, it also means what you're producing here is expensive. And so if you are a producer, your preference is, since I have the US dollar, I'll go to the markets. But you're competing with China. China has economies of scale. You know, in Zimbabwe, sometimes we forget, is 0.2% of the world's population. So in terms of economies of scale, we're beaten by the world, unless we're intentional to say, let's direct our resources locally.
Now, you know, one of the things that the NDS one also talks about is private sector-led economy. Explain more to us. How does this make an economy better? Because
the government is an enabler for everyone. It's big, but the player belongs to the private entity. The enterprise is a private enterprise. So the government makes the playing field well. It's like a FIFA. FIFA does not play the game. The game is played by well, I would say FC Platinum. Forget about what Scotland did to us, but it doesn't matter. But the point is that you need to enable those that are playing to play well and to prosper. And the players are the private sector. And so it is, I think, is the best thing to do, because government will not be able to play the game. It's like FIFA having all teams and playing its own World Cup and all that. You have to get all different countries to come with their teams and play the game.
Some people would say, okay, look, all and good, but when you leave the private sector to its own whims, and you say they are primarily responsible, won't they then, you know, exploit the ordinary citizen for profit?
True, because private enterprise is primarily driven by self-interest, and self-interest is you take a risk, and that risk is rewarded by something we call profit, which means you add over the cost to get a bit of a return, and that's what drives entrepreneurs to get into business. However, just like as I said, the example of sport, you know, there is a referee. There are rules. If you tackle someone from behind, you get a red card. And if the referee is government, the regulator, the one who puts the environment is the government.
The enabler as well?
The enabler as well. To say, let's play the game well. When you've seen in soccer, when players feel that the referee is biased, they'll go and say, no, that was not a penalty. So it's really a relationship between the regulator, the enabler, and the actual player. But you need both. Yeah.
Very important. Industrial development, of course, led by the government.
Yeah.
How have they done that to ensure that the private sector gets us to a position where we are not that reliant on foreign products?
There has been, particularly following the rebasing of the economy and the latest statistics that have come from Zimstats, it seems finally we could be getting out of the rut. Because for a long time, the primary production was the leading contributor to the economy. And that was agriculture and mining. But if you looked at the statistics that came from Zimstats of 45% billion, the leading player is manufacturing now at about 15%, which means the biggest contributor to our national GDP is manufacturing, followed of course by mining and quarrying, and then you have wholesale and retail financial services. We must accept that last year was a bit of an anomalous year because it was a drought year, but agriculture is maybe number 5. That's what we need to do. If you look at the large economies, what you find, like if you look at the US or even China, you find that at least over 50% is services, your IT, TikTok, Facebook, and all that, AI now. Those are the leading. And then your low value production spaces, which is your mining, your agriculture, will be low because the value is very low. But at least there is movement because manufacturing now is taking the bigger chunk of the contribution to national GDP in Zimbabwe.
Of course,
we are one of the biggest producers of cotton.
Yeah.
So what happens to our cotton? What does it? How do we link that cotton to manufacturing? And how does that cotton then link to retail? What brands in clothing do we still have in terms of driving fashion, lifestyle? Because we now have young people who are dominating in Zimbabwe and they're driven by lifestyle. But how did that lifestyle connect with what they wear in terms of the shirts, jackets, shoes, everything with that we see?
You put in a very interesting point there in terms of sectors that need then to be prioritized. What are some of the sectors that need to be prioritized to ensure, in order that we are not that reliant on imports?
Clothing.
That's number one.
Electricals, heavy machinery. Those are the areas that we are really, and then the high value products, mafuta, perfumes and all that. I mean, just look at your, everyone, just go into your house and see that generally as Zimbabwean, food, you're likely to have it from Zimbabwe. Food, you're likely, but the higher product, your TV, Korea, your car, where is it coming from? Your cell phone, who is making that? Of the cell phone, what component do you have? And yet, within that cell phone, you have a PGM, you have platinum group metals. Within your car, you have your catalytic converters. And so, right now into solar. Solar, what are the two primary commodities? It's copper and lithium. And both, Mangura had a bit, but so we have these things, but we then don't process them to that level where they become components into our lifestyle products.
Right. Now, let's talk about policies that then strengthen that. Such as, interventions such as tariffs, subsidies, tax incentives. All of these are being used, especially according to NDC1, to ensure that there's a favorable environment for local industry.
You've been following the debate in the US, right? With President Trump, where the world but he's imposed tariff and he's saying America first.
Are our measures working?
So we are not doing what we are not alone in this. Everyone has been doing it. Tariffs, protection, public procurement, making sure that your public procurement is given to the local manufacturer. South Africa does it. So we have done fair on the tariff, but I listened to the president when he was giving his speech, SADC, and he was saying, as SADC, we need to make ourselves, we need to unite better. Otherwise, we will be there for a peaking. The SADC industrialization agenda. So there are certain things that have worked, but other things have worked a bit. Let's talk about public procurement. Government has now said we must prefer a local supply. Local supply. So a tender will be given to a local supplier, even if it's more expensive than a foreign supplier. However, the local supplier, if he's not tied to local content, to say that product is from Zimbabwe, guess what the local supplier has done? Gone to China and taken.
Is it then?
So you're taking via
the purpose,
I'm just channeling back to China, but via Admire. So we now need to close those gaps, to say local, but only because it has been validated to be produced in Zimbabwe, and it is a local content.
So you believe that the government is actually imposing protectionist policies when it comes to local industry,
yes,
or local suppliers?
Yes, benevolent protectionism. We must add that.
But as you're saying, they then take advantage of that.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
as Buy Zimbabwe, of course, it always comes back to you. What have you done to ensure that, government's efforts are supported?
The beauty is that Buy Zimbabwe works very closely with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And right now we're finalizing a local content rating program because the Ministry of Industry has also realized that we could have something called local, but it's fake local. So we now need to start rating that local. So we're creating together an ecosystem where online you can put your product and the system would say your product is 30% local or 20% or 70%.
Do we have products like that? If you have any examples of any products that appear local but they're not really local?
There are many. There are many products that are, especially within the electrical, that are made in Zimbabwe. But what you realize that is possibly sometimes is only the sticker and the guy who wrote that he made in Zimbabwe. You have taken things, you are basically assembling here. It's okay. It's a first part. But we need then to have a journey to then say, you started by assembling, but is it possible that you can then say that part, that component I can bring into
I don't have a lot of time, but the last question would always be, is it possible? Can we get to a level whereby most of the products that we use as a country are made in Zimbabwe and we reduce that import bill?
As long as the intention is there, yes it is. Whoever thought that Zimbabweans were good at making roads? We spent years discussing about the Beit Bridge road and going to Germany, Italy, until we realized that we have engineers here. The interchange, the Bablas interchange.
All done by local engineers.
So, and the incubation hubs. Yeah. So there's a lot here that we've demonstrated that is possible. Who thought that Zimbabwe would ever beat Namibia? Yeah. Well, rugby. Yeah. After 33 years.
Qualifying for the World
Cup. Aren't we the ones that singing to go to the World Cup? So it's always about starting, measuring yourself, correcting your errors, and becoming better.
And becoming better. Mr. Munyaradzi Hwengwere, the Buy Zimbabwe Chairperson and Chief Executive Officer of the same organization. Thank you so much for joining us here on World of Business.
Thank you very much.
Right, we take a short break on World of Business. Join us after the break. Welcome to the last segment of our World of Business, where we put the spotlight on the entrepreneur of the week. Now, this week, the World of Business team visited Mr. Raphael Mandevu, a local stock feed manufacturer and distributor, and a World of Business producer, and the team spoke to him on the ground.
We're in the third and final segment of this week's edition of World of Business, and as usual, on this particular program, we take pride in celebrating our local entrepreneurs that are doing major initiatives in supporting the country's Vision 2030 as well as the National Development Strategy. On this particular segment, I'm joined by Mr. Raphael Mandevu, who is the owner and founder of Hardship Stock Feeds. He's going to walk us through his journey as an entrepreneur in Zimbabwe. What are the challenges that he has faced, and how has he managed to keep his head above the water? Okay, Mr. Mandevu, thank you so much for joining us on this particular segment of our Entrepreneur of the Week. Maybe just to start off, for the viewers that are watching you for the first time, can you briefly introduce yourself? Tell us about the products that you're selling, and ultimately, how has been your journey so far?
Ndinonzi Raphael Mandevu. Isu tunoita zvekutengesa chikafu chemombe, chehuku, chenguruve, chembudzi, chemabhiza. Tozoitawo vanoda shuga benzi, tinokupai futi, nzungu tinokupai futi. Ndo zvatinoita. Takatanga 2014 ndo patakatanga, but pa 11 years papo ndava ne former branch. Ndichitryawo kubvisawo hama dzedu, mashamwari nemaZimbabweans kuvabvisa mukuita zvinhu zvakaipa, because kana munhu ari busy, kashoma kuti aite zvemadrugs, kashoma kuti munhu anzi aponda umwe, kashoma munhu kuti anzi aita zvisingadiwe muZimbabwe kana ari busy.
So, Mr. Mandevu, one of the key pillars under the National Development Strategy 1 is achieving an empowered and prosperous upper middle income society by 2030. And definitely for this to be a success, or for this to fructify, we need initiatives like yours coming into play. How do you think this particular initiative aligns with the country's vision?
By giving, like, Peptanga of Masura, because now is almost 5 years, the cheaper than school fees, about 15. Then we talk about Machembe, about 5. Matungo, Tingle, Makosan. Nengesira Maria Gawand. Sura out into Nayo, Kanakuti, Antina, but didn't go try Kungo Pow. Then because we have a Moku Chinway, Matuno, Badara, my school fees, there's a Kamban. Then because we have Majun, Petit Ram, Daga, donate my blankets, 35, 35 years. So Daga donate my blankets, Kuana.
Now I want to talk about the issue of employment creation. How many people are you employing at the moment? And do you see potential for growth? Looking at job opportunities, as your company is growing, how many more opportunities are we looking forward to?
Tikutarisira kuti tichavhura imwe branch, patichavhura rimwe branch paMutare, tichatora vamwe paMutare koko. Zvatinongoita kana tikavhura branch, let's say tavhura branch kuDomboshago, tinongotora vanhu vari kuDomboshago koko, tinogona kuisa one manager, then the rest totora vanhu vari koko. Tikavhura kuChivu, sezvatakaita kuvhura kuChivu, tinobva tatora vamwe vekuChivu koko. Saka ipapo tinoda kuvhura kwaMutare, tichatora vanhu tiri process yekuti tivhure kwaMutare koko.
You spoke about selling raw materials that can be processed into stock feeds. And if you look at our National Development Strategy 1, our roadmap, it emphasizes on prioritizing local content and industrialization. So through this particular initiative, how do you think that you are supporting local farmers?
Raw materials edu fukatarisa yatiri kuti maize bran inobva pakuti tatenga maize. Yatiri kuti wheat bran inobva kuti tatenga wheat. Yatiri kuti soya meal inobva kuti tatenga soya beans tozogadzira soya meal. saka ndo masapotro atiri kuita kwavari. And vamwe vacho sometimes tinobva tavadzidzisa kana vari kumusha, like kwedu kwatobva ukoko tinobva tatovaudza kuti rimai masunflower touya tokutengerai, rimai soyabeans touya tokutengerai. Bhozi kare tichikura tiri kugokwe vanhu vairima cotton ndo yatakakura tichiendisa kuchikoro nayo, but now nekuda kwekutiwo zvinhu zvinongochinjawo panguva nenguva, makambani akutenga cotton avashoma mashoma. Because tichikura like growth kwedu vaigona kuona pane 7 macompanies aitenga cotton, but now unoona pane 1. Saka takutongovadzisa kuti rimai soyabeans, marima soyabeans motiudza kuti marima soyabeans akawanda sei, touya tokutengerai. Rimai sugar beans, marima sugar beans modzati dzawanda sei, totumira. If pamasvika nongati maona matraki edu aipopanza tinobva tatumira. Especially kukwe kune vanhu tinoziva vakandakakura navo.
What support do you think entrepreneurs like you or other budding entrepreneurs that are still growing need from the government? What recommendations can you pass to our policymakers?
Kutanga chandinoda kungotenda president wedu Shumba Murambo nekubvumidza mayouth sesu kuti tiite business zvisina kuti une level here, une masubject mangani, but tirongotenderwa kuti tiite business zvakasununguka zvekuti ukada kungovhura nyango 10 mabusiness unokwanisa kuvhura kuti uwanewo chekubata. Zvinova izvo zvinokuita kuti ugare uri busy zvekuti nguva dzekuti uswere pakuda kunotsvaga kuti madrugs ndomawana kupi, chaunenge uchiita ndechekuti ukwanise kutsvaga kuti mari ndoiwana sei. Semayouth ndirongokurudzirawo kuti ngatitraye kutsvaga zvekuita. Even nyange kunorima zvandachingotaura like pandachimbotaura paya kunorima soyabeans, ana marima soyabeans mouya tokutengerai soyabeans mowana mari yenyu. So hapazona marobhari haazoitwe, madrugs haazoitwe, hamuzonetsani mudzimba muchirovana, vana voendawo kuchikoro vodzidzawo.
We've come to the end of this week's edition of World of Business, where we're casting the spotlight on Mr. Raphael Mandevu, who walked us through his journey as an entrepreneur in Zimbabwe, the challenges that he has faced and how he has managed to keep his head above water. He also emphasized on the need to prioritize local industrialization and to promote Zimbabwean products. Until next time, it's back to you.
Well, that's it for World of Business, where we talked about a number of things. We spoke at length concerning the need to boost local productivity, and this was buttressed well in the last segment with our local entrepreneur majoring in stock feed manufacturing. My name is Admire Mungu. From everyone else behind the scenes, it's goodbye and see you next time.